TrackTreads is a cloud-based undercarriage management system for collecting inspection data, interpreting the data, and reporting the data. In this video, we'll run through the basic functions of the system and how to get you started with setting up your equipment, inspecting your equipment, and producing your reports. When you log into TrackTreads, you're presented with your dashboard. A lot of the information that you'll ever need on a day-to-day basis can actually be viewed directly on your dashboard. From the Fleet Overview tab, you can see a list of all of the equipment that you have access to and the basic details on the equipment, when it was last inspected, the make, the model, the serial number. But more importantly is the component overview. From here, you get a list of all of the equipment that's been inspected, all of the components on the equipment, and the wear percentage for each component. So we'll look at one that's got some inspections on it. This is the one we're going to look at later. We can see that the two links, left and right, are at 86 and 91% worn. And these stand out in red, visual clues, so that at a glance of your fleet, you can see what needs attention and what needs attention now. You can also filter your dashboard with the search function. You can filter by customer, family, job site, make, or directly by equipment serial number or model. You can then save any of your filters to your favorites so that you can come straight back to them whenever you need. If you're new to TrackTreads, the first step will be setting up your equipment. Setting up equipment is a two-stage process. The first step is to set up the equipment. And once the equipment's set up, then you'll set up the undercarriage. For this example, we'll just set up a Caterpillar D10. Set the current equipment hours or the earliest hours known. For forecasting, it's best to set up the equipment with how many hours a day it's used and how many days a week you wish to use it or expect to use it, and then the interval of how often you're going to inspect the equipment. Inspection periods can be set in hours or days. We'll just leave it at 500. This is a mining application. This is a low value equipment, as in it is one of our support equipment. Rope shovels would be primary equipment, and it's in use. The equipment's now set up and we're ready to set up the undercarriage. TrackTreads logs and tracks all components as well as the systems that those components exist on. So there's left chains and right chains, left frame and right frame. So we fill in all of the known details. You can put in serial numbers for each of these systems, or the system will auto-generate them for you. Likewise, you get to enter how old the system is, what day it was set up. This is currently defaulting to the date that I set the equipment up, and the current hours on this system. We're going to leave these all as having been set up at the same time as I set the equipment up. Our next step is to select all of the components. TrackTreads is custom filled already with all of the available components for the equipment. So all of the equipment components you're seeing here are the parts available for the particular model that we've chosen. We're going to add a couple of extra track rollers to this so that we've got 8 track rollers. And we've set this vehicle up to have both sides identical. We can select the brand of the components fitted with all of the OEM and aftermarket brands available. We can set our budget life as to what we expect to get out of this component. And if any of the components are being fitted secondhand, we can show the existing current hours on that component. And we can also insert costs for each component for later on cost tracking. And we need to set a size and grouser type just for the shoe. So we'll have a 16-inch triple grouser. We can check everything and submit. We've now completely set up our equipment, and if we return to our dashboard, the equipment that we've just set up will be now available on our dashboard, and here it is here, test serial and test unit. Although you'll generally add inspections on a mobile device, a phone or a tablet, you can also add inspections directly into the web application, which is handy if you're needing to enter past historical inspections. Select the customer and the job site and the equipment that you'd like to inspect, and you get the inspection. Set the equipment SMU, any forward hours or kilometers, the date of the inspection, any notes, and any job site notes. Select the job site conditions, so this might be medium, abrasion, moisture and packing, and then any measurements that you want to add for track sag, cannon extension, scallop and dry joints on the left and right. And you can add additional comments here if you wish, and you can also upload images. Click next, and you can now enter the measurements for all of the components on the left side. Select which tool they're using, and once again add photos or comments as you wish. Step through to the right hand side. You then just get an overview of all the data you've entered in. Click Save. The inspection will save, and then you're ready to interpret it. With the mobile app installed on your phone or your tablet, you can then load equipment onto the device and inspect it in the field. Simply add your equipment by selecting the customer, and then select the equipment that you want to load onto the device, and it's now loaded. You can now take your device offline, perform your inspections, and then sync back to the cloud when you're connected to the internet again. To perform an inspection, just select the equipment that you want. Enter the SMU meter reading for the equipment for the day you're doing the inspection. Any forward or reverse travel in hours or kilometers, depending on what the meter's recording. You then have your job site conditions, impact, abrasion, moisture and packing, and your unit of measure. For the first 4 measurements that we record is the track sag, dry joints, cannon extension and scallop measurements, and you just enter these here for left and right. You can also add comments for each, and you'll notice that once you've added a comment, the comment box goes blue. Likewise with the images, if you add an image, and this is just an emulator camera, but you'll notice once you've added an image, the camera is highlighted so that you know which ones you've got images against. You can also add general inspection comments and job site comments. You then get into your components. You have your left side and simply swipe across to your right side. For each component, when you open it up, you have a list of tools: ultrasonic, depth gauge, calipers and ruler, and an image showing you how to measure the particular component with the tool you have selected. You can then enter your reading, and you get a percentage worn immediately. Obviously this is I've just entered a random number here, and you'll see that that adjusts as I change it. If I'd chosen a different tool, you'll see that the depth gauge image changes, showing you how this measurement would be taken with a depth gauge. If you choose a tool that can't be used for that particular component, you will actually be warned that there are no wear limits set for that component, and there won't be an image shown. You can also take images once again with our little emulator here, and you can remove an image if you've decided that you don't want it. Add your comments for that particular component, and at this point you can also add any recommendations, and the recommendations are per component. So for this one being a link, we could repair dry joints, turn pins and bushings, adjust tension, and save that. Save, and then we go down to our next components. Once you've worked through all of the components on the equipment for both the left and the right side, simply end the inspection. And although this is marked as incomplete because we haven't measured all of the components, you still can sync it. Once you've completed your inspection and you're ready to sync, select the inspection that you wish to sync and then just click sync. Once the inspection has been synced, the equipment will be removed from your equipment list, and then you can access that equipment inspection through the web application equipment details page. From your dashboard, it's just a simple case of clicking on any of your equipment, and we'll choose the one we just set up, and you'll be taken to the equipment details page. From here, you can choose all of the various actions that you can perform on an equipment, and you can see all of the components installed on the equipment and their current wear limit. Obviously, this is a brand new equipment, so everything is at 0% because it's never been inspected. So let's switch to an equipment that already has some inspections on it. So here we have an equipment that's already been inspected. In fact, it's got 3 inspections shown on it. And from your equipment details screen, this is where you're going to do nearly everything that you want to do for your equipment. You've got all your equipment details. You've got all the various actions that can be performed on the equipment. You've got your next inspection forecast, and you can access all of your past inspections. You can also view all of the components connected to your equipment and see at a glance by color coding and percentages how worn each component is. You can see how many hours are on the components, and you can see how many hours are projected for that component to reach 100% worn or 120% worn when it was installed, and how much each component has been costing you. This is for both the right and left side, of course. You can also view your past inspections, and you can see the exact measurements that were recorded for this inspection. You can also see when the inspection was performed, the hours that were on the equipment, and it's from this interpretation of an inspection that you can add recommendations. And we've added a few recommendations here. We're saying that the link on the left-hand side should be replaced with a new one. And we've entered the cost that we would expect that to be. And the costs are split up between labor, parts, and miscellaneous. So you can drill right down to how much each component is costing you on a piece of equipment, when this action should be taken, and how many hours will be gained. And these figures I've just entered in roughly, so don't expect these to be too accurate. You can also add images. So we've measured our track sag for this particular equipment, and we've also added some images here for track sag. The same goes for all of the measurements. When you're capturing an inspection on the mobile device, you can capture comments and images. So this is the link, and we've got an image here of the link. And these are the comments that were recorded during the inspection. Once we're happy with our inspection, we've added all of the recommendations that are required. We add our interpretation comments, and these are the comments that will be going to the customer on the PDF report that we produce. Once you're ready for the PDF report, it's as simple as clicking the PDF button. This will open the PDF report for you to do some final checks and make sure this is exactly what you want to be sending to your customer. In a branded site, it'd have your logo in the top right, left, and you can even have your customer's logo in the top right. You have equipment photo. You have your interpretation comments and the overall evaluation. Below that, we have a basic image of the equipment so that people can orientate themselves to how the track rollers are being numbered and whether they're single flange or double flange rollers. We've got a few of our basic measurements here of track sag and dry joints. And then we get into the actual details of each component. We have the wear percentage graphs for the left and right side components. We have a detailed chart showing the measurements that were taken and the individual evaluations for each component. And then any photos and measurements that were taken and comments that were added are all shown further down in the report. At the bottom of the report, we also have a list of all of the recommendations you added when you interpreted your inspection. As we saw earlier, we have the link, and we recommended that it was to be replaced with a new link. So your recommendations and their costs, itemized and totaled, are all listed at the bottom of the report. As well as the PDF report, you can also produce a quote. Quotes are based solely on the recommendations, so we don't have equipment inspection details. This is purely the recommendations with their itemized costs and their total costs for each recommendation that you've added. Once you're happy with your report and the quote if required, click Send. Add any recipients that you wish to send the report to. I'm just going to send this one to myself. You can choose to include the quote or not. And as I said, you can produce multiple reports for a single inspection, and from here you can select which report you'd like to send. We only have the one. Click Send, and your report will now be produced and emailed to whoever you need it to go to. Along with capturing inspection data and producing the equipment condition reports and quotes, one of the most powerful aspects of the TrackTreads system is the ability to look at a full history of your equipment. Once again, like so many other things, we've opened up our equipment details page for the machine we want to look at, and we just click Full History. In the top section, we've got all our equipment details and then our system details. And then we have all of our components listed with graphical representation of how worn each component is. But we can drill down even further. By opening up each component, we can see every action and inspection that's been done on each component. If we've replaced a component, if we've reshelled a roller, if we've re-groused a shoe, it all shows in here, and each with their individual costings. So for any system, any component on any equipment, we can see a full history of every single part and exactly how much every part has cost us. This is the left. Obviously, we also have the right-hand side. We can also add actions here directly into the history of the equipment. I know that in our last inspection on this equipment, we recommended that the link should be changed out. So let's add that action right here. We've chosen the link. We're going to replace it with a new one. It's going to be the same type of link. It's going to be the same brand. I think it'll last about 9,000 hours based on our budgeting for our links. I'm putting a brand new one, so 0 component life, and I'm fitting it today. And the SMU of the vehicle today is 1950. Costing and analysis on all of our equipment is of incredible importance. So when we replace a part, when we repair a part, when we do any action, it's important to be able to record every dollar. For this, replacing the links on this chain, I'm just going to pick a random, say $5,000, and it's going to cost us $500 in labor, and let's say $100 in additional grease. We save the action, and now when we're looking at our full history, you can see the total cost for this part has now increased. And if we drill down to the full history of this component, we can see from the day it was set up, installed, an inspection was performed on the 1st of March, another inspection on the 1st of April, another inspection on the 1st of May, And then there was a replacement. So we replaced the component with a new part on the 22nd of November. So the full history isn't just showing us the history of the component we're looking at. It's showing us the history of the components that have been in position, this particular position on this particular equipment. So we can track components across equipment. If you move a component from one equipment to the other, you can see when it was moved. You can see where it was moved to. So the full history is one of the most powerful tools when you really need to drill down and find out what's happening with your equipment now and what's happened with it in the past. TrackTreads also includes an inventory system. This allows you to track your chains and frames when they're not installed on a particular piece of equipment. There is also component life performance reporting so that you can have a look and drill down and see exactly what life you're getting from each component. With all the data collected in TrackTreads, you can also do forecasting. The Fleet Component Forecast page allows you to select dates into the future with intervals of quarterly or monthly and project when you're going to need replacement parts for all of your equipment. These are just a couple of the detailed analysis tools built into the TrackTreads system. If you'd like more information, contact us at tracktreads.com.